The forest was eerily silent, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. Police flashlights pierced through the thick evening mist, sweeping across abandoned sheds and forgotten paths. For days, an entire town had been gripped by terror and heartbreak. The disappearance of 5 young children had cast a shadow of despair over every home. Parents hadn't slept, volunteers had scoured fields and rivers, and still, no sign of the little ones. It was as though they had vanished without a trace. But hope had not yet died, because among the search teams was a 4-legged hero whose instincts were sharper than any machine, and whose loyalty was deeper than any human vow. His name was Rex, a seasoned police dog with eyes that gleamed with determination. And this is the story of how Rex did what no one else could. Before we dive into this powerful journey of love, loyalty, and hope, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the incredible bond between humans and animals, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Together, we can spread stories that remind the world of the good still left in it. The nightmare began on what should have been a joyful summer afternoon. 5 children, between the ages of 4 and 6, had been playing in the park just a short distance from their homes. Parents watched from benches, chatting and laughing, unaware of how quickly happiness can turn into horror. When the time came to gather the children, they were nowhere to be found. At first, it seemed like innocent hide-and-seek, but minutes turned into hours, and the hours bled into a night filled with frantic phone calls, screaming parents, and flashing police sirens. No one wanted to imagine the worst, but fear hung in the air like poison. By the 3rd day, exhaustion was written on every face in town. Volunteers dragged their feet as they combed through fields, mothers clutched photos of their children to their chests, and fathers clenched fists in helpless rage. Some whispered about trafficking, others about an accident, but no one truly knew. And then, when spirits were on the verge of breaking, a K9 unit was brought in. That's when Rex arrived, strong, alert, his tail still, his nose pressed against the ground as though he already understood the weight of his mission. Unlike the humans around him, Rex didn't know despair. He only knew the scent he had been given, the faint traces of small jackets and tiny shoes handed to him by trembling mothers. The search took him through winding trails and deep into the woods. Hours passed as he sniffed broken branches, patches of dirt, and scattered leaves. Police officers followed him, sometimes skeptical, sometimes hopeful, but Rex never faltered. His body moved with urgency, ears perked, paws digging into the earth. The world around them seemed endless, but Rex carried an invisible map in his nose, one that led where no human eye could see. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Rex stopped dead in his tracks, hackles raised, tail rigid. His deep bark tore through the stillness of the forest like a siren. Officers rushed forward, flashlights trembling in their hands, their breaths caught in their throats. Rex bounded toward an old rusted shipping container hidden behind vines and branches. His barks grew louder, desperate, as though he knew time itself was slipping away. With crowbars and trembling hands, officers pried open the container's hatch. The hinges screeched, metal grinding against metal, and then, silence. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. And then, from the darkness, 5 pairs of terrified eyes blinked into the light. The missing children, faces streaked with dirt, cheeks bruised, but alive. They pressed against the opening, small hands reaching outward, clinging to the hope that salvation had finally come. Tears flooded the eyes of every officer present. Grown men who had seen the worst of humanity felt their throats close as sobs rose from within. Mothers screamed the names of their children as they were rushed forward, arms outstretched. Fathers dropped to their knees, their strength shattering at the sight of their babies breathing once again. But in the middle of the chaos, one figure stood tall and still, Rex. His ears flicked back, his eyes soft, as though he had known all along that he would bring them home. And in that moment, those children weren't just survivors, they were miracles. The world often speaks of heroes in uniforms and badges, but here was one in fur and paws. As paramedics checked, the children and families wept in relief. One small boy crawled back toward Rex, his tiny hand resting gently on the dog's muzzle. His lips trembled, but his voice carried strength beyond his years when he whispered, "Thank you." It wasn't loud, but every officer nearby heard it. And that single word, spoken with the purity of a child's heart, became the anthem of the night. Days later, the story spread across the nation. News stations replayed the footage, headlines praised the hero dog, and communities everywhere lit candles in gratitude. But for the families, no recognition mattered more than the warmth of little arms wrapped around their necks, the sound of laughter filling once empty homes. Rex had not just found children, he had restored hope, healed broken spirits, and reminded everyone that sometimes angels walk on four legs. In the weeks that followed, the children slowly returned to their lives. Nightmares faded, replaced with dreams of brighter days. But none of them ever forgot Rex. Every time they saw him during community visits, their eyes lit up, and their hearts swelled. They drew pictures of him in school, stories of the dog who saved us filled their classrooms, and their bond with him became unshakable. Rex wasn't just a police dog anymore, he was family to an entire town. And so, when medals were pinned, and awards were handed out, the loudest applause wasn't for the officials but for Rex. His name echoed in cheers, his fur was stroked by countless hands, and his eyes reflected the purest joy, because for him, none of it was about glory. It was about love, about doing what he was born to do. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support allows us to keep sharing true stories of loyalty, hope, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Special request: comment below and tell us what you would say to Rex if you had the chance to meet this incredible hero.